really wanted to figure out this whole love thing, which I wasn't sure up until that point whether I wanted to or not. And there I was finding myself at the beach. And here in Venice Beach in Los Angeles, I went and bought myself like a little ring, a little silver band.
From those vendors on the beach?
Yeah.
Awesome.
And I picked out a band. And don't roll your eyes yet. I know some of you are going to want to roll your eyes. You want to hear the whole story. So I bought a ring and I walked out down to the sand,
mm-hmm.
and I married myself. Yeah.
That's sweet.
Because I realized, honestly, I thought even at the time, I thought it was kind of cheesy.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things that I realized was that if I was expecting somebody to love, honor, and cherish me, that first I had to learn how to love, honor, and cherish me.
Okay.
And so that was my commitment. Like I made a commitment to myself on the beach that day. And I don't have a date on the calendar for that day. It was just something I sort of, I wouldn't say completely impulsively. It was something I'd been thinking about doing.
Right.
But that was the day that I went and I promised to take care of me. And in promising to take care of me,
mm-hmm.
I couldn't believe all of these magical things that started happening. I mean, all kinds of really groovy opportunities came my way. And it's like in taking that act that at the time I thought was even a little cheesy, but I did it full out, and I made the commitment to love, honor, and cherish myself, and to put myself, to consider myself. I had never really done that before. And so there I was, finding that all of these opportunities started coming my way to do all kinds of great things. And I feel like that was sort of like the beginning of my journey to you.
I love that.
My beloved.
Yes.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. I'm Orna Walters.
And I'm Matthew Walters.
And this is Love Intervention.
And we are here to intervene in your love life. Get you off the path. Hold on. Get you off the path of struggling and heartbreak and frustration, and get you on the path to that long-lasting, soul-satisfying love you desire.
Yeah, but today is extra special because it's not just a regular love intervention here today. We're having a Valentine's Day party. Woo! We're having a party.
Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
So we're here to talk about love and spread love and share love
and really answer your questions about love too.
Yes.
And so I wanted to share that story because I know a lot of you have probably been hurt and you're probably feeling pretty cynical about Valentine's Day and it's a Hallmark holiday or turning it into Galentine's or whatever. And I just want to say, look, love should be celebrated every day of the year. I don't, or at least to choose love for those that you love and to make a choice about love and to choose love. But when you are with your beloved, I promise you that this day is going to be something that is special. And it wasn't that long ago that I was single, and I was single till after 40. I keep asking Matthew to please promise me he won't make me wait this long until in our next lifetime.
Hey.
But the thing is today is Valentine's Day, and we could have, not done a love intervention and skipped this week and whatever. But the truth is we don't want to be anywhere else. Like we wanted to be with you, our community. And our goal today is to help you so you can get on that path to that soul satisfying, long lasting love, as Matthew said right there in our little intro. And how many of you think that's goofy that I'm willing to admit that I went and married myself? Like
I think it's really sweet. I mean, part of this journey to love, when we talk about self-love, we always say with our clients that the love you seek is inside of you and will be reflected back to you through the eyes of your beloved.
Yep.
And let's talk about that and how that works, because I think that's a really important idea, and I think people don't really understand it. So, for example, say, and this is true, say I have a fear that I'm going to make a mistake, that I'm going to screw something up. And that's part of my childhood and what happened, sort of the childhood wounds that I have, right? Being the youngest of 4 boys and not being able to keep up with them physically, right? Mm-hmm. So that part of me, that little fear that I carry around, when I see somebody that I really love and care about, and she's like, hey, what happened? I thought you were going to do this thing. Why didn't you do that thing? It's like suddenly that little kid inside gets activated and he goes, wait, what? I didn't do anything wrong. What are you talking about? And it triggers like this defensiveness. Now, I don't always react defensively, but that's sort of the wounded part of me that shows up from that. And I want you to get that it's not that she said anything that's like,
I'm the she.
Yeah, or whoever said anything that is wrong or bad. It's just a question. What happened, right? Why didn't this get done? And yet the filter in my own brain, which is the part that says, I might screw this up, especially when it comes to relationship, filters what's said to me as like a criticism. And so I react defensively. And that's just a minor way, one sort of idea, one sort of understanding about how it is the filters we have for ourselves that we are viewing the people around us. And so those things that trigger us in our relationships, we always say it's like a funhouse mirror.
Yeah. You go into the funhouse, right? And you don't recognize yourself because you're in this long, skinny mirror, and maybe your head is really fat and square, and your body is really tiny and stout, and your feet are really giant, and your hands are really tiny, or who knows, right? Like you go, it's that reflection. It's a distorted image when you go into the funhouse. And so there is that funhouse mirror of intimate relationships because it's the person you spend the most time with.
Right.
And so you don't recognize that other person is like it's really your stuff about yourself that's being reflected back to you to that other person. And that's why the love is also reflected back
to you, which is coming in full circle to you going to the beach and promising to love, honor, and cherish yourself, right?
Yeah.
Promising to treat yourself the way you want to be treated, to respect yourself, to all of those things, so that you can start seeing it reflected back to you.
Yeah, I mean, part of it was taking risks that I normally wouldn't take, you know, and I don't mean like dangerous things. I meant like things that scared me, emotional risks with other people, like speaking up for myself and maybe telling somebody, you know, making a request or telling them I might want or need something from them, or setting a boundary with somebody. You know, I had to set a boundary recently with a friend, and it was a little uncomfortable, and it actually went pretty well. I was nervous, and I know that when we teach our clients all the time to speak up and make requests, and we say, look, we're still working our own stuff, and that's the thing, it requires practice. You know, so I had to say to this person, well, I feel hurt and sad when I'm very generous with someone, and it doesn't seem like it's enough.
Right.
Like it's never enough. And that person was like, oh, I really misbehaved and I'm really sorry. And it was like, okay, you know, we all get to have a bad day. But I know for years in my life, I wouldn't have known how to have that conversation. I would have just been angry. And, you know, that person would have been on like my shit list, basically, my list of grievances, my long list of grievances, you know, for a long time I had this long, like, it was like a scroll, you know, and I had this long list of grievances. And what I realized is the only person I was really hurting with that list of grievances was myself. Came from my desire to really want to have a great love relationship. I mean, I know for most of my life, I didn't even think that was possible for me.
Yeah.
And so I didn't, you know, I really, I mean, honestly, people think we're making this stuff up. We're not. You know, I mean, I honestly went through a spiritual awakening, and I started meditating. At the end of meditation, I would ask, what do I really want? And every time the answer that came was love. And oh my God, I panicked. I was like, no. I don't know how to do this. I don't know anything else. I'll ask tomorrow. Maybe it'll be something different. You know, I did that for weeks. I'll ask tomorrow. Right. And then every day it was, what do I really want? Love. I was like, oh God, but I don't know how to do. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to
hug that poor girl.
I don't know how to do love. How can that be the thing that I want?
Yes. Oh God, yes.
Oh God, yes. You're going to have to figure this out. And I think, you know, that's why we're here today on Valentine's Day with all of you. And so I know we always say, ask us anything, but I kind of want to open it up and have, you know, a little bit more fun with it, because I know we're pretty much an open book, you know, you and I. And I just thought I would throw it out there. I mean, it's not necessarily about us per se, but I want to give you all permission to ask us literally anything. So you can ask us anything about us personally, about our relationship, about anything. There's nothing off limits. What do you want to know from us today? Because we're choosing to spend Valentine's Day with you because honestly, you're worth it.
Yeah.
You, whoever's hearing my voice right now, whatever, insert your name, I'm talking to you right now. You're worth us spending our Valentine's Day with you so that you really understand that you are worth loving.
So Tina says, happy Valentine's Day to Orna Matthew. Happy Valentine's Day, Tina. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else out there who wants to say hello, please jump on. I know there's quite a few people on right now. We just want to say happy Valentine's Day to all of you and remind you that this is Love Intervention.
Yes, I am Orna Walters.
And I'm Matthew Walters. And we're here to intervene in your love life, specifically on Valentine's Day, to intervene to get you on that path to long-lasting, soul-satisfying love. I just love saying that. So, it's interesting, this journey. Orna says, oh my God, love, right? I would meditate and say, what do I really want? I want love. I said, no, I don't want that. I don't know how to do that. I have, a deep, profound empathy for that because I've been there. I've been that person as well who was like, I don't even think I want ever to get married. I remember once a few years back, we were back in Kansas City and we were talking to a college friend of mine, one of my oldest friends, and she was asking us questions about her relationship. And then she sort of stopped herself mid-question and she goes, I can't believe that I'm asking for relationship advice from the person I used to refer to as the toxic bachelor. And I was like, what? Huh? She had never said it to my face.
Suddenly the quiet voice was outside.
Exactly. Her quiet voice was outside. She said something she had never said to me. Clearly she said to other people. But looking back on who I was and how I behaved in relationships in my 20s, I definitely fit the description of a toxic bachelor in terms of somebody who sent mixed messages, who, did all kinds of things because I just didn't know how to communicate what I really wanted. I didn't even know what I really wanted. I just knew that times I wanted company and times I didn't. So, Tina says every day is Valentine's Day when you're in a right relationship. That is true.
Yeah. And I think, what do you think the right relationship means?
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you that question.
All right, Tina, you're on the spot.
You're completely open to throw it back to us. But I just, it's because I think this idea of a right person sets a weird expectation. We were just watching, was it this morning? Is that show on in the morning? Or was it last night that Amal and George Clooney?
Oh, that was this afternoon. Yeah, it was on CBS this morning.
Yeah, it was on CBS. So it was this morning. So George and Amal Clooney were this morning on Valentine's Day. I guess they got married on Valentine's Day. It's their 8th wedding anniversary. And Gail on CBS, who was interviewing them, Gail said, I guess it was something, they did a commercial break and they came back, cutting away. And we're going to tell you something George and Amal have never done. And they said they've never had an argument.
Yeah.
And when they cut back to the studio at the end of the interview, one of the guys in the studio said, well, define argument. And I was like, that was my question. I was like,
exactly.
Define argument. Because,
exactly.
A lot of people don't have an argument that sounds like an argument from the outside looking in because it's a Cold War argument. And those count, right? So I was like,
Or a disagreement or a misunderstanding
Yeah.
or any of those things that happen between two people.
Yeah.
Which is normal. I mean, Orna and I are together
a lot of hours.
Right? And
every day.
And 95% of the time we're on the same page. Yeah. But that 5%, it's like that happens. We're human.
Yeah, right. I would say even 3%.
Yeah, exactly.
3 to 5% of the time is when there's disagreements, but most of the time we're on the same page or in a groove. But yeah, like define argument. You know what I mean? All right. So Tina says you feel heard, understood, and good connecting. You can share anything with other person without feeling judgment. Yeah, most of the time. I think
a pretty good description.
I think that's a good description, the right relationship. I mean, look, here's the thing. The longer you're with somebody, the more leeway they get. Matthew and I, this is our 15th. Oh, we're going to make out now. Just kidding. It's our 15th Valentine's Day together. So this is number 15.
Yeah.
No, 16.
No, 2008.
16. Yeah, but 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 16.
All right. You are correct.
Because you have to count 2008.
Yes. That is right.
16th. So I was wrong. Not 15. 16th. I counted on my fingers like I'm, 4. All right. So welcome everybody. I just want to say, look, if you're watching us on Facebook, you can give us a like, a share, comment. You can put your questions in the comment box there, and our team will port it over here so we can answer them. On YouTube, please click the little bell, subscribe, and you can ask your questions there in the comments as well, and our team will port them over. And I'm going to say thank you to our team spending Valentine's Day with us for an hour so we could be of service to you today, because that's what we really want to do. We want to know, what are your questions about creating the right relationship, as Tina says.
Yeah. So, that's a pretty good description. I think there's some other things in there, like attraction and chemistry might be sort of helpful to throw in there as well.
Yeah.
Because
right now that could be a platonic relationship. You need to have some of that,
you need a little romance, because we're on the day of romance here. We're on Valentine's Day, where we celebrate romance. We celebrate romantic love. When we're talking about Valentine's Day, we're talking about romantic love.
Yep.
Because there's all kinds of love. There's spiritual love. There's a love of people, right? A love of a friendship. But we're talking romantic love today, because that's really our passion when it comes to helping people find and create that. Because so many people desire it and yet don't seem to really know why it hasn't worked for them, or they don't seem to know how to make it happen, because it feels mysterious. It feels like it just happens or it doesn't happen. It doesn't feel like you have any agency around it.
Well, it's the one part of our life that most people just abdicate their power and just say, oh, well, you can't control another person, but you have 100% control over you. And when you find that what is your pattern, right? That's what we always talk about. What's your pattern? And people always say, oh, I remember a good friend of ours years ago, her niece was in town. And I asked her, what's your pattern? She says, oh, all the guys I've dated, they're all completely different. And I was like, yeah, but you're the common denominator. You're the through line. So what's your pattern in relationship? And she was like, huh? And kind of thrown for a loop. And I think that's where most people abdicate their power, because if you are only attracted to a person who's not available, like that was my pattern. Either literally unavailable, as in a relationship with somebody else, either committed relationship or married, or unavailable as in not emotionally present, like an addict.
Right.
And so when I tracked my relationship history, when I was really digging into my own inner work, I was like, ooh, unavailable. And like, I can only think of one guy that really pursued me, that I was like, okay, let's see what it's like this way.
Right.
And I entertained that for a bit. It wasn't my guy, but I learned a lot about myself. And I always wish him well. So Rob, if you're listening, I wish you well. I hope you're happy. If I hurt you in any way, I'm really sorry. No, really.
That's sweet though.
I know, but I feel badly because it was like intoxicating. He came on really strong. He got like in today's language, we'd say he love bombed me.
Right.
And usually if somebody did that, I ran. And for some reason with him, I stuck around in a relationship. But then as I knew he was going to get close to him proposing, I ran.
Right.
That's when I bolted.
Right.
I was like, run away before the bride.
Run away.
Run away before you're the bride. Sprinting. So anyway.
I would say once again, we're here to answer your questions about love, your questions for us, any questions you have. We'd love to hear from others of you. Tina's been very sweet to step up and share with us. So anybody else, please jump in.
Yeah.
We'd love to have you participate, because that's really what we want to do today, is we want this to have as much participation as possible from you, because we want to share. We want to share, sort of what we've created and give you that idea, that sense of hope, that vision, that belief that you can create it as well. It's why we share the stories about our own struggles, so that you can get that it's, we didn't meet in high school. We didn't meet in college. We didn't meet until we were over 40. And we had both been heartbroken. We had both looked at a lot of the mistakes we had made. I'm 20 years sober this year. So, that needed to happen before I was even available for a relationship. Yes. So you got to look at the pieces of your journey and one, have sort of empathy and compassion for yourself on that journey, because everybody's been through it on some level or another. Everybody's made mistakes. Everybody's made bad choices. Everybody's had bad things happen to them.
Yeah.
And so you don't want to let those circumstances really create a wall around your heart. I think oftentimes, that I don't think cynicism may be too strong of a word,
Cynic,
but when we have that sort of sense of like, I have to protect my heart because it's been hurt before, that there's a need or desired expectation for somebody to, come and swim the moat and climb the wall and fight the dragon before they get to your heart. And it's like, your heart shouldn't be put on behind all those walls. And part of our wish for you is that sense that however you feel about today, however you feel about Valentine's Day, that you come away from this today to have a sense of hope for yourself.
Yeah.
A sense of hope and belief that, you can create it too. You can overcome whatever circumstances you've been through.
So
create what you want.
Yeah, I love that. Thanks for sharing. And I want to say, where are you stuck? Here's your opportunity to ask us anything. Where do you feel stuck? What do you want to know from us? And if we don't have more questions, then, we'll go offline early tonight and go celebrate on our own so that we can go make out, not in front of all of you. So we're waiting for you to step up and ask us stuff. Otherwise, we'll be back in 2 weeks on the 28th. It's a little quiet out there tonight. I thought we were having a party and that, look, there's a lot of experts out there that talk about self-love. And I think that the biggest mistake around self-love is that
it's all pedicures and massages and spa days, right? Did I just jump in there and steal your thunder?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yep. All right, mister. All right. What's next then?
So self-love isn't about pedicures and spa days and massages. Those things are nice and those things are a way of treating yourself.
But that's not
what self-love is. No. Self-love says, I'm going to treat myself as somebody who's worthy of respect, somebody who's worthy of love, somebody who's worthy of being loved. So let me share a story about my own journey.
Hold on.
Oh, you're going to go, well, you passed it to me, so
yeah. I think
I'll pass it back.
But you'll have a chance to tell that story. But I think it's more important to be really specific, because saying to a person who should be respected or blah, 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 that still doesn't give them anything to do. Right. Here's what self-love is. Speaking up for yourself, knowing how to have the uncomfortable conversation, being able to say no when you mean no, being able to draw a boundary and say enough is enough, being able to be generous with the people who are generous with you and evaluate another person's capacity. When you evaluate another person's capacity, then you can see who in your life is capable of meeting your needs and wants. And the biggest mistake that people make, which I think we talked about on our last love intervention, was this whole idea of jumping in too quickly. And so the dating process is supposed to be a process, not just to discover if there's chemistry, but to discover that other person's behavior and are they capable? Right? Are they capable of making an adjustment?
Exactly.
Like you did just now. Yeah. You made a beautiful adjustment.
Oh, thanks.
You did. We're going to kiss a lot because it's Valentine's Day. All right. Go ahead. You had a story?
Yeah. So one of the things that I discovered on my journey to love was that I was really out of integrity in my relationships. So what does that mean? What does it mean to be out of integrity in your relationships? So it can show up in a lot of ways, but one of the main ways is you're not acting in congruency with what you desire. So here's a perfect example. There was this woman that I knew, and she had kind of a crush on me, and we
of a crush.
Yeah, she made it very clear.
A crush on you.
She made it clear that she liked me, and so we ended up going out on a date. I thought she was attractive, so I was like, okay, yeah. We went out on a date. We had a good time, and we were doing love by accident, so we ended up hooking up pretty quickly. And I, at the time, was just getting sober and just sort of getting my life together in a lot of ways emotionally. And I wasn't really available for a relationship. And I told her that. I said, this has been great. And I really, had a good time with you.
Don't look at me when you say those words.
This has been great. I had a really good time with you. And I don't think I'm emotionally, this is what I'm looking for right now. And her response was interesting. She said, I think we should be together. You'll see, I'll show you. And in my head, I kind of went, okay, well, knock yourself out, right? But I don't think my opinion's going to change. And I probably should have said that out loud. That was the first step of me not being in my integrity. But there probably would have been a kinder way to say it. So we ended up having this on again, off again thing that wasn't really going anywhere, but it sort of went somewhere because she was trying to make it go somewhere. And
Yep.
We'd hook up regularly and go out every so often, but it wasn't a regular thing until eventually I decided I wanted to go on a camping trip, but I couldn't find any of my friends who wanted to go camping with me. And so I reached out to her to say, hey, you want to go camping? And she thought that was me going deeper in our relationship. And so we went on this really not very fun camping trip together because we had very different expectations and we weren't communicating well.
Ouch.
And it was after that I finally went, you know what, this is on me. This whole mess that's going on here is on me.
And
because,
you took responsibility.
And I took responsibility for it because I was the one being out of integrity. I knew what she wanted. She made it very clear. And I knew that I didn't want the same thing. And instead of saying, hey,
we're not a match.
We're not a match.
Yeah.
We probably, should go our own ways and you should go find somebody who wants what you want, right? Because I don't. And it wasn't until I stepped up and sort of owned that and took responsibility for it and cleaned it up that then I began stepping into my integrity in my relationships and behaving differently. And I didn't, do that again in other relationships. So you want to look at your own life and your own relationships.
Where
and say,
are you not in
what
integrity?
do I need to clean up, right?
Yeah.
Where are there things where I'm out of my integrity or my behavior's not in alignment with what I really want? And how can I make those shifts? Because I think those kinds of actions are self-love actions.
They are.
Because they say, I am worthy of behaving in a way that says, look, I'm going to be in my integrity. I'm going to take responsibility. And I know these don't sound like fun, romantic.
They're not sexy.
They're not sexy, but they're important.
Yeah. So today of all days, right? It's the most important day. If you don't have a significant other, then love on yourself. Mm-hmm. And one of the nicest way to love on yourself is to ask yourself, what do you really need right now? And how can you show up in a way that says that you are worth loving? What actions can you take that show other people you're worth loving? I mean, from the moment you meet somebody, you teach them how to treat you. And I think a lot of times when we talk about patterns and people can't figure that out for themselves. And mm-hmm. I think, one of the things I want to give is an opportunity for, and again, I'm going to ask for questions because we're here to help you tonight, like right now. And the only person who's really come in to say anything in the chat box is Tina. Thanks, Tina. We appreciate you. But there's a whole bunch of you on here that are silent. So what did you show up tonight to have? I mean, we said we're throwing a party. Maybe it doesn't sound so much like a party.
Oh, yeah, maybe we're being too serious.
Oh, well, all right. We can lighten things up. What do you want to know? What do you want to know about us? What do you want to know? We're going to lighten things up. What do you want to know about us? I'm going to give it a few minutes.
Let's just remind everybody, this is Love Intervention, and I'm Matthew Walters.
And I'm Orna Walters.
And we're here every 2 weeks to intervene in your love life, to help you get on the path to the long-lasting love you desire. And it really is our passion, our mission in life. There's a lot of things we can do with the skills we have, but for us, love is important. And in my mind,
it's the most important.
It always comes back. There's this really lovely Swedish proverb. And I think, when people think about, relationship and do we really need to find our soulmate and all that kind of stuff? And I think, yeah, we do, because the Swedish proverb sums it up. It says, shared joy is double joy and shared sorrow is half sorrow.
Yeah.
So when you find that person, you get to double your joy and you get to half your sorrow.
Yep.
And I think that's really, that's just awesome in my book. That's pretty amazing.
I mean, look, I never thought I never dreamed about getting married when I was a kid or in my 20s or most of my 30s. I mean, I really didn't think anybody would ever admit to wanting to be with me. I mean, do guys want to sleep with me? Sure. I mean, no, seriously. I mean, I think for a lot of women out there, I mean, I mistook sex for love too many times. I was kind of settling for that.
Right.
And sex isn't a bad thing. So
No.
I had a good time.
Yeah.
But I wasn't getting what I really wanted. And it took a long time for me to feel like I was really worth that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I want everybody listening to know that you're worth it. You're worth it. Gosh, y'all, you're quiet like little chipmunks in the dark. I don't know. Like nobody has questions. We're probably going to wrap it up early if we don't get any questions. But I think if you're struggling to discover why you're struggling in love, right? If you can't figure it out by yourself, I want to give you an opportunity to figure it out with us. So we have it's a private session. Since y'all are quiet, maybe it's because you want some personalized help. So you can go to yourloveimprint.com. Your love imprint is what we call that core wound. It's like the rudder on your boat that's highlighting specific people out in the world. And so, the truth is we were raised by flawed people who were raised by flawed people who were raised by flawed people, et cetera, et cetera. It's kind of like the human condition is what we're working with here. Because on some level, all of us were not loved exactly how we wanted to be loved. And many of you, I'm sure you came from great families. Matthew comes from a wonderful family. Mm-hmm. I really won the in-law lottery. And yet he also struggled. So it's not about, your parents being bad people or anything like that. But remember, all of the events of your childhood, you assigned a meaning to those events.
Yeah.
And once you understand the meanings to those events, that's holding you back. Because the grown-up you has a different understanding of what you want than that little kid part of you. And that little kid part of you is right now, if you're still struggling to pick somebody, and have somebody that shows up for you in the way you want them to, it's because that little kid part of you is meddling in your selection process. And so the Love Imprint session really gives you peace of mind and direction. And so we want to give you that. Mm-hmm. You kind of have to know, to know where you want to go, like you want to be with your beloved, great. But where are you in relation to that, right? On a map, right? You need that you are here spot on the map. And the Love Imprint does that. It's like, where are you in relation to what you want? And then you get to see that, the difference between where you are to where you want to be. And for some people, maybe it's, it's like a big cavern. And for other people, it might be just a little wrong turn. Just like when you plug in your, GPS, if you transpose the numbers, right? You can end up at an address. It can map out an address that's hundreds of thousands of miles away from your intended destination, or it could just be a few blocks away. You still didn't reach your goal and you don't know how to get there. And most of you have been going around in circles. And so our goal is to interrupt that pattern. How do we really get you on the straight path so that you can get the love that you truly not just desire, but that you deserve? And that's why we're here saying you're worth loving, because you're worth having this great relationship where you do have attraction and you do hear each other and you really come from a place of accepting one another. And that doesn't mean that it's always, like some ideal of perfect, that's an unrealistic standard that nobody can match. But, you should be on the same page the majority of the time.
Mm-hmm. So we got a question. Anne steps up. Anne says, what is the best way to move through the power struggle stage of relationship so you can move into real lasting love? Interdependence versus dependence or independence? This is a great question.
That's a great question.
We love this question.
That's a top high level question. I think I know which Anne this is. Okay, Anne, do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
If you got it, go for it.
I want to. So the best way to move through the power struggle is that you have to remember the power struggle. So I just want to educate everybody else that's listening. There are 5 stages of relationship. 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we all know that romance phase, that intoxicating, oh my gosh, I fell in love. I slipped on a banana peel. I landed on you. It feels like an accident. Boom, I landed on you. And it's so wonderful and intoxicating. It's a chemical high. Scientists say it's like taking heroin. I don't know. I never took heroin, never will. But it's supposed to be like, wow, right? Knocks you off your feet, knocks your socks off, va, boom. Well, once all those chemicals wear off, guess what? You're in relationship with a person, guy, gal, who's not you. They have different strategies for dealing with everything because they're not you. And so suddenly you end up in a power struggle stage. It's like a tug of war. My way. No, my way.
No, you got to understand what's wrong with me.
No, you got to go. I know how to. I've been doing this a long time. My way. I know how to do this. I can solve this problem. We're going to do it my way.
Exactly.
See, no one can win that. It's awful. Okay, so that's the power struggle. And then the third stage, I'm going to just say really quickly so everybody can pick up, and get a lot out of benefit, the most benefit out of this. The third stage of relationship is what's known as the stability stage in relationship. And the stability stage is when the couple stops fighting each other in that power struggle. It's stable, right? The stability stage is where both couples, I'm answering your question right now, Anne, defer to one another's strengths. You're good at doing that. I'm gonna let you do it.
Yeah,
you can do it. We can do it your way.
So the way you make this shift from the power struggle of my needs and my wants and do it my way to us, from me to us, right? Is you choose to fight for the relationship as opposed to choosing to fight for your ego needs and desires. And it's a conscious choice, and it's hard. Because when you're in the power struggle, the problem appears to be the other person, right? The problem's over there. And if the problem's over there, then, you're never going to get out of the power struggle.
You never will.
You're both pointing the finger. And so one of you has to let go of the rope and say, okay, I'm going to stop fighting you and stop fighting for my way and go, okay, what's going to make the relationship grow?
It's like fighting for the relationship instead of fighting for your ego desire of being right. And so the most important thing that people don't understand is you cannot make it through the power struggle stage if you have a truncated, as in a shortened romance phase. So if your romance phase is shortened, that's not your person.
Right.
Because there's a power struggle stage, that doesn't make that person not your person. So most of our clients have really long romance phases before they hit the power struggle.
Right.
They're really long romance. So it should be about 1 year to 2 years of a romance phase. And then you have a lot of gas in the tank of the relationship so you can make it through the power struggle. So the last thing you want to do is have skills about how to navigate through it and then just go, okay, I'm going to just defer, how do we do this together and blah, 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 even though that you've only been going out, a few months. And instead of just going, oh, not my person, right? Trying to navigate with skills because it takes both people, right? So in order to go through from the stability stage then to stage 4, which is the commitment stage, that's where you are actually able to make a lifelong commitment to somebody and say, oh, I see who you are, warts and all, and boy, I choose you anyway. I choose you anyway. I take you as is. I don't need you to change. I don't need you to be any different. If you never, ever, ever change a thing, I'm going to love you forever.
I like it.
Yay. That's the 4th stage.
And then from the commitment stage, there's the 5th and final stage, which is called the bliss or co-creation stage. And in the 5th stage, this is where the love you have for each other is bigger than just the two of you.
Yeah.
And so it needs to expand out into the world. And maybe that's a family. Maybe that's, if you're an older couple, maybe that's like charity work or legacy. Or for us, it's this work.
Yeah.
It really is this work. This is our love for each other has grown so much that we want to share it with all of you.
Yeah. And, Matthew said the final stage, but you know what?
Stage.
I hate to say, once you go through those 5 stages, then you start to hopscotch around. So you go through them in order, and then it's like whack-a-mole. You don't know what you're going to get. So we've had we've had a resurgence of the power struggle stage in our relationship, and we've certainly had a renaissance of the romance phase as well. So it's the thing that you need to evaluate is this person able to meet my needs through that tumultuous power struggle stage? And if it's if somebody is if it's always one-sided, right? If one person ends up being like the hero and the other person ends up being the zero, just make it sound really, defined clearly, then that's not a balanced relationship.
That's where we're talking about codependence. Right?
Yeah.
Codependence says that I will put in a sense, if I'm the zero, I will put all my needs aside to make sure that your needs are met. And how that
for the relationship. Stage in a healthy way.
That's just going into sacrifice.
Correct.
And it's going to create resentment. And it's just not a healthy dynamic.
It's not sustainable.
Interdependence is really where we both say, hey, I get these are my strengths, these are your strengths. I'm going to defer for the areas that are yours. You're going to defer for the areas of mine. We're going to work together to support each other. And even when one of us is triggered, if the other's not, we're gonna be able to be in that space of, oh wow, I get you're triggered. So what can I do? How can I help?
And to really hold space for each other. I mean, look, I always say our relationship should be stamped something like, there should be like a little warning down here, like, please don't try this at home. Like, most couples are not designed to also work together.
Right.
That's not, that might not be the way your true soul partnership functions. So just because ours functions this way doesn't mean that's something that you quote get to have to. And you might dream about that. You might be like, wow, I really want a relationship where, we work together and we're married. And that's a lot of pressure at the beginning of a relationship. I mean, Matthew and I had no idea that we would end up working together.
Right.
I mean, I had my practice, he had his practice.
Wasn't the plan when we got together.
No, but I did have the vision, though, for many years that I would have a life, that my life would be really integrated between my personal life and professional life. I mean, I worked in the film industry for many decades, and I wanted to produce movies because I wanted to hire all my very talented friends. I thought, well, that would be a lot of fun because it's like having your own family when you're on a shoot. And I thought, wow, if I could just work with all my talented friends, this would be a lot of fun. Instead I work with my husband doing this.
Which is also a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun. And we're here on Valentine's Day again because we believe you're worth it. We're here with our valuable time to say, we believe you're worth it. You are worth us being here on Valentine's Day because we remember what it was like to be single. I remember being single on Valentine's Day. And you can make it whatever you want. You could stay in, you could go out and make it a Galentine's, you can go out, you could stay in, whatever. But when you're single and you want to be partnered and your heart says, I really want to share my life with somebody, today is a tough day. And so we wanted to show up tonight and say, look, that's a valid feeling. Like, if you're feeling sad that you're on your own today, that's okay. It's okay for you to honor your feelings, right? If you are here, and we've been talking about self-love tonight, we want to say part of that self-love practice is for you to have the full range of human emotions and honor the experience you're having instead of trying to, polish a turd and go like, I'm going to, polish over this thing that feels icky, that right. You might be feeling lonely or sad, or you might feel like you don't know how to pick up those pieces. And gosh, I've been there so many times. And I just want to say it's okay. Like, every time it didn't work out for you, that's because you're growing. Every time it doesn't work out, your heart actually breaks open to hold more love. I mean, I had to work on receiving. We finished a group coaching program recently, and somebody was saying about how they have all this that they want to give to somebody. And my question was, what do you want to receive? And I know I really had to work and exercise my receiving muscle. And in order to be in this relationship, I had to do that. And then I'm going to tell the story about Valentine's Day.
Can we just put a pin in that for a second? I want to just check with Anne and say, did you get the answer you're looking for? Do you have any other follow-up questions, Anne? Thank you for your question. And it's really good to see you.
And anybody else, you're welcome to ask one.
Also has a question.
Yeah.
So now please.
So Matthew and I got married in 2009, October 3rd of 2009. And because, we were grown-ups and I didn't really have any family that had like family money for a wedding for me or anything like that. So we were paying for our wedding, essentially, is what I'm getting at. So we'd been engaged 1.5 years and we decided early, in the beginning of the year, we were going to be quite, we had a budget.
Right.
And so for Valentine's Day, we had an agreement that we wouldn't exchange gifts. I haven't told this on Love Intervention, right?
I don't think you have.
Okay. So Valentine's Day of 2009, I'm engaged to the love of my life, and we had a wonderful day together. And I remember in the evening time, we were sitting at my place. We hadn't moved in together yet. We were sitting on the couch, and I presented Matthew with a card, and he opened it, and he was like, "Oh, that's really sweet," and he gave me a kiss. And then he looked me in the eye and said, I'm sorry, I don't have anything for you.
I took her very literally when she said we're not exchanging gifts. I just thought that meant we weren't.
Well, I didn't say. We had an agreement.
Yeah, I didn't. I just took it all very literally. I didn't think we were exchanging anything, so I didn't
get a card. And I remember thinking, how is that possible? And so it was like in a movie where like my eyes filled up, like the tears filled up my eyes before spilling over onto my cheeks. And slowly at first, and then, oh my God, it was like a deluge. Like I had to get up and I ran into the bedroom and I was just sobbing. And oh my gosh, it hurt. And I'm telling this story not only because it happened on Valentine's Day, but because Matthew basically said, I'm going to make it up to you. I'm really sorry. And so my maiden name is Benari. I was Orna Benari for many years. And I came home from my office that day and Matthew presented me with a card that instituted Orna Benari Appreciation Month.
That's right.
And for 31 days, I got a card every single day from this guy. And I remember thinking how, I mean, we had gone not even halfway through that month. And I was like, oh my God, like I had to, like I didn't think there was a glass ceiling on my ability to receive anymore. So I worked so hard to receive and work on receiving from people that care, kindness and compliments and love and all of its forms. Oh my, it was uncomfortable. It was weird. And I mean, even days when we had maybe a little tiff or a thing or whatever, I was bitchy and I had my period or whatever. I mean, every day without fail for 31 days, I got a card. And I couldn't believe it. And I was so overwhelmed with your gesture. And I want everybody to understand that this is what happens. It's not about doing things perfectly, because when you really truly love one another, you might actually hurt one another, not consciously, but you might end up, injuring the other person in some way. And that's when it's appropriate for you to not just repair, but to make amends. And that amends, when I just was expecting one card on Valentine's Day, to get 31 cards every single day. And starting in the middle of the month, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, you chose 31 days to give me 31 cards. And I want everybody to understand that when you're with the right person, they want to make things right with you, right? We had Tina, we asked you, well, what's the right relationship, right? That's a little bit more of what we want to say. The right person wants to make things right with you. And so even if things do go south, you'll figure it out. And that's what we want you to understand. Pay attention to how things work out with that other person, not just when things are going well and you're on the same page, but what happens when it all gets messed up and there's miscommunication or there's a disagreement. What happens then? What happens when you are in a power struggle? I mean, I remember we had a resurgence of the power struggle in 2015. It was pretty freaking wicked. Yeah. And here we were, like we were already very established as the pattern identifiers and breakers. And we were very committed to working it out together and changing our dance steps. And I think that's the part of that most people don't understand. Like, we dance together all day long, in a sense, moving through our lives. And you're not, you can't be conscious and aware every minute of what's going on. You're sleepwalking through some of it.
Yeah.
And so eventually we step on each other's toes, but then we figure it out. We create new dance steps if we keep stepping on each other in the same kind of way.
I think with the pandemic, in the lockdown, I think a lot of people ended up in power struggles because suddenly they were spending a lot of time with somebody
in a small space.
And
nowhere to go.
Yeah. It takes a lot of
communication. It took a toll on a lot of people.
To get through that. And if you're not cleaning up your arguments and you're not repairing, then it will wear down over time, and it'll
drive a wedge between you.
You'll grow apart, as people say.
Oh, I hate it when people say that.
I know.
Like it was gravity.
Yeah.
Oh, we just grew apart.
The planets.
Yeah, we didn't. Yeah, whatever. I mean, that's just people not working through the stuff. So if you want to work through the stuff with yourself and want to know what your stuff really is and what it would take, go to yourloveimprint.com. It's like $200 for a session to diagnose your love imprint, and it just brings so much peace of mind. Yeah.
And clarity, having clarity about what's really going on, about why you really struggle.
Most people say, wow, that's the best $200 I ever spent, because we've had people say, I spent 20 years in therapy every week and nobody gave me as much clarity as you guys did in 20 minutes, So anyway, look, it's Valentine's Day. I just want to say thank you for all of you showing up today. I'm Orna Walters.
I'm Matthew Walters, and this is Love Intervention. We're here every 2 weeks to intervene in your love life, to get you back on the path to the long-lasting, soul-satisfying love you desire and deserve, because you do deserve it. You are worth it. And it doesn't really matter what experiences you've had, what your circumstances have been. You still deserve love, because we are all here deserving of love.
Yeah. And I think that, you came into the world as that little newborn baby, and any of you who are parents know this is true, that babies come in with no blocks to love. Mm-hmm. You came in the same way. Every human baby comes in as the human embodiment of the energy of love. And I think it's why we like being around newborn babies.
Yeah.
They shine that spotlight of love on anybody who's around, and they receive love from anyone who is willing to give it. There's no blocks. You came in with no blocks to love. And yet you were raised by these flawed people, and you started to twist into a pretzel to get their approval and to feel loved and to feel safe. And so you took on certain strategies. That doesn't make those things useful in your adult life. It doesn't make any of them true. And so I just want to say thank you for joining us, because this is our life's mission, to get you to understand that love by accident is going to feel like a cyclical, right? I mean, if you haven't figured it out, if you're
like riding a roller coaster.
Yeah. And so if you want to get off that hamster wheel of it not working out, book a session with us so we can help you get off that hamster wheel and break that pattern, because that's really what we do here. I mean, can we go over your online dating profile? Sure, absolutely. Can we make sure that people are contacting you online through those dating apps? Yes, absolutely. But, you can get that in dozens and dozens and dozens of other places. Some of our colleagues or some of our dearest friends, and they do great stuff with that. We can do that too. But our real work here in the world is to change you from the inside out, because when you have this internal shift, your outer experiences change, because ultimately what you believe is true for you.
Yeah.
So if you believe that today is a day to be celebrating love, please celebrate it with yourself tonight. Not by, taking a bubble bath, although, if that's it, great. Have some fun tonight and have a bubble bath. But I would love it if I can't help but coach. I'm going to give an assignment to everybody who's joined us today. Write down 3 things that you can do for yourself that are self-love acts. The thing that you're nervous to do, the conversation you're scared to have, right? The place where you can draw a boundary, ask for a raise, or just ask somebody, that you're scared to make a request of for something you may want or need of them. 3, do 3 of them. Write them down with a date, right? That's the thing. You're going to write it down. Okay, by this date. So today is February 14th. Maybe it's one more week, right? By the 21st or something. I wouldn't stretch it out like, by December 31st. Don't make it that far out. Just pick something you can do. 3 things you're willing to do over the next week that say, I'm worthy of the love I want. Because if you feel, for example, maybe you grew up in a home where you felt invisible.
Yeah. So
be visible by showing up for yourself.
So last night we were looking for a good pre-Valentine movie to watch, right? Something we hadn't seen. At least I hadn't seen, or hadn't seen it. And we ended up choosing on an older movie, but a really good movie, My Big Fat Greek Wedding. And if you haven't seen that movie, check it out, because it tells a great story. And the piece of the story that we're talking about, because Tula, she's the main character, right? In the beginning of the movie, she's very mousy. She doesn't do anything with her hair. She very rarely wears makeup. She has these thick glasses, and she dresses, frumpy, very frumpy, right? And in the movie, she's to step out of her comfort zone and go take this computer class so that she can learn how to better herself. And through taking the class, she feels better about herself, and she changes her whole appearance, and she starts showing up very differently in the world. And that's, in a sense, it's a kind of hokey way of talking about it, because it's a movie version of it, right? But in real life, it's like, how are you not showing up as yourself? How are you not showing up for yourself? And where can you step into those uncomfortable places where you take a risk and you show up as yourself or for yourself in your life. And you say, hey, I'm worth it. I'm worth speaking up here. I'm worth asking for what I want.
Yes.
I am worth not putting up with this anymore.
We said it was going to be a party, so I'm going to say yes, 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 yes,
Exactly.
and yes.
Exactly.
Yes, everybody, yes. So this is our Valentine's Day message to you. You're worth it. You're worth loving. You're worth taking a risk for. You're worth speaking up. And nobody is going to come swim through the moat,
climb the wall,
kill the knights and the dragon to get you
to get to your heart.
To get to your heart. Nobody's going to do that. You've got to be showing up open. That's the thing, right?
Mm-hmm. You've got to open your heart to love.
You've got to open your heart to love. And I know it's scary, but you can mitigate those risks. And let us show you how.
All right. So Anne from our answer earlier says, thanks for expanding on that. Super helpful. Tina said, thank you so much for sharing your valuable time and wisdom. I really appreciate it. Well, thank you, Tina. We appreciate you for showing up for yourself both. And speaking up and letting your voice be heard.
Yeah, I like it. Woo. All right. So we'll be back in 2 weeks on February 28th. We'll be live, same time, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. I want to say thank you to our team for showing up on Valentine's Day so we could be of service to you today, the day of love. Take care of yourself. You are worth loving.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Bye for now.